All right, looks like it started. And all right, so some basic commands for Git out of the box is, first of all, like I said, you want to make sure that, so there's some DOS commands as well. So clear CLS clears your screen. So I'm on the command line, and first off, I want to see if Git is there, right? So git dash version. So I know I'm running on version Git 2.33.0 Windows. That's great. And most likely I'm not in a directory that has Git. So if I tried to pull something down, I wouldn't understand. Like if I did Git status, it might say, okay, this is not a repository. So you need to actually initialize it. Like we said, you can have a local repository, but it's not initialized at my root level, right? So using some DOS commands, I know somewhere in my directory structure here. Where is it here? Doesn't matter. You know what? We'll just make a new one. So make directory dir, and we'll just say underscore git git example, right? And dir again, which lists my content. My directory now is right there. A kind of a little tip, by the way, which is like a professional tip, is when you are, and I learned this really, years ago, but I would honestly always try to type out the directory name, cd underscore git, and I always try, and it could be very long, very long folder structures. If you just put in, even underscore g, then I know it matches. You press tab, it'll auto fill out and save you a ton of time. Okay, if you didn't know that, it's a little tip, right? So now I'm in my Git directory. Once again, if I do git status, it's going to say it's not a directory. So then you would have to initialize the Git directory using git init, right? Let's see if this works. Git init, initialize empty Git repository now to that directory. And it'll go in, if you notice there, it'll add like a .git file. So I'm kind of initializing that this is going to be an empty repository. I don't have an origin. I don't have a remote repository yet, but I still would like to check in and save my files to this one here, right? So if I do a directory listing on MacBook, it'd be ls. So I have nothing in there. So the Git file is there, but it's not there, right? And what do I want to do? I don't know. Let's see if I grab a notepad quickly and I just put some text in there, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. Something, whatever. Here. I'm going to go ahead and try to save this file into that directory here. Where is it? Where was it? My root level was on the C drive. Okay, users. And it was down at the bottom here. Where is this? See, this is the part I don't like. There we go, Git example. I'll just save this as the README, just like you guys had README in the lab, right? README.txt, README.txt. All right, so that's there. And I'll just minimize that for now. So if I go back to this directory, I should see it there. If I do a git status is a command that will just tell you if there's any committed changes. So I made a mistake before of telling students, hey, you're only going to use these commands, and I'll show them to you. Git add, git status, git commit, and git push and git pull. And I was like, that's all you're ever going to need, right? It's true if you're working by yourself. However, if you get into an environment, which I am in now, where there's lots of people using Git and lots of people using, you don't have a UI interface. There's a lot more commands you need to do, and you have to do it manually. So now you would have to know a lot more of the commands. But if you're working by yourself, that is what you might need, right? So git status tells me there's nothing tracked. You can see there, okay? There's nothing tracked. It tells me that there is an untracked file called readme.txt, all right? So it says right there, nothing added to commit, but there's an untracked file present. So you use git add to track it. So if I do git add dot, okay, and I go back, I can use my arrow keys and kind of scroll through my previous commands, so I don't have to type it. Git status now is green. It's letting me know This is a newly tracked file. All right. So if I wanted to push it to my little repo here, then I'd have to use git commit to stage it. So git commit -m, and then I would say, okay, you know, added a README file so that if someone on the other end of it looked at my repository, they would see the comments on it and what that check-in meant. With more commands, I'll show you more. So then I commit this guy, right? One file changed, one assertion, and it gives a little bit of a mode there. So again, git status, nothing to commit, working with the clean tree. So then in order to truly push or check in my code or submit it, you have to use a command called get push, right? Get push. Now it's going to tell me something now. There's nothing configured, so I need to do a little bit more work to get this guy running. And I need to then, I guess I need to set an origin name or whatever. I need to configure this guy, right? So that's okay. We can take that offline and figure that one out. But I'll do another example here. I'll go back into the Git example. So I want to go cd git example dir, right? So what I'm going to do beside that is I'll go to this repository wherever we were, and like you guys, I'll go to this one. So if you were going to go to GitHub and someone said, all right, here's my repository, pull down the code. What you would do is you come to the repository, and under this code icon here, you can toggle it. You can do the old school way and download the zip file. You could, and you would have everything untracked. You could do that. There's a GitHub desktop. It's more of a UI, but we're not using that. And then you can just grab this repository right here. This is the link that I put in the lab. So you can click copy. So now I can clone it. So I can pull everything down into my little example here. So if I can do git clone and then paste in that URL, it's going to go down and pull down everything that I have there. And it's going to take a while, right? It's probably a bit of code in there. Not too much, but it might be a while there. So it's only at 1%. Oh, it's actually moving. Okay, it's not too bad. And then it should pull down the file structure that we have. So in this folder, there's a bunch of code for I'm just burning time here while it's downloading, but HTML, CSS, some JavaScript, some material. All the lecture notes are there if you want to look at it. Full Stack 2 as well has some stuff that we're going to look at in the next class, and some material in there, some demo work in there as well, and a README file. Where are we at? So now it completed. All the deltas have been pulled down. They did some checksums. Nothing's changed. There's no conflicts. If I quickly do a dir now, it looks like I have everything in that folder there. CD full stack tab. I can go into this guy, and it looks like I have the structure file. I have the structure of the directory. If I were to open that up in Visual Studio now, which I will, let's take a look at Visual Studio. So I go ahead and I open the folder and I go to wherever we were here. We were in Git example, one level deep right here. So now this whole thing will open up in my Visual Studio Code, and then you can see here I can start navigating my entire folder structure, which is great. Right? So now if I wanted to make a change, so here is my README file. If I go back to my GitHub repository, the README file is right there, but it also is by default, this is the content of the README file, because the README file has a couple purposes. README file is really great for submitting code as well. Also in this course, you should put your name, your student number, people in your group. Any information is what it's for, any instruction to run your application. Any credentials I might need, or someone who's marking might need. So usually the README file is the point to, it says in the name, README. It's meant to be a signal to whomever to read this, to give context to what the project's about, what the repo's about, any tips or any things you might need to know about anything. Like as complicated as your project can be, your application, This might be a very big file. For us, there's not much in here, right? It's just a repo for class notes. So anyhow, I want to make a change here. So let's add, I don't know, we'll just say, all right, this is semester winter 2022. Save that guy. What you'll notice, I'll tell you right away, is Visual Studio Code is very smart. So when you're using development and getting used to this tool, you'll see here this little icon here will light up. So it says source control. Now I use this every day. So I'll click that guy. It'll actually track the changes, and you can imagine you can have lots of code changes in there. The great thing about it is, yes, you can git add and stage things here, and many people do. So I could click that plus, and it'll be the same as doing git add. And I could commit from here if I wanted to, and maybe I'll show you how to do that. And that's well and good. You notice on the bottom here, there's like, okay, what branch are you on? We'll talk about branches in a bit. It says main branch, okay. But when you click it, it'll also show you what changed. So if I click this guy, it'll say, okay, look at the difference here. What changed at this point in time? So comparing the previous check-in commit to what has changed, which is extremely valuable when you're working on a lot of code changes, because you can see maybe you made a mistake. Maybe you deleted something that you didn't want to delete. So I can show you right here. What happens if somehow, this was an important piece of code and I commented it out, or I removed it, or I put something, some bad, script in there. I don't know what it would be, right? So like I have some dangerous script in here, right? Danger, whatever, right? It's a dangerous script that I don't want to have run, whatever it could be. You can see in there that it'll track it. If you are using this UI, which I do, you can quickly undo the changes. You can discard the changes and revert back to the previous file, the previous stage of that file. So it's very good. So anyhow, let's put our change in. We could do it this way. So we'll say semester, and we'll just say whatever, winter 2022. Save that guy. So if I see the changes here, I take a look at it. Okay, this is what I like. I'm happy with that. Maybe I want to do it from here. That's fine. I'll click add. It's staged, right? If I go back to my repo here, and if I click git status, it'll show that it was modified and it was staged in green. Okay, I can do it in the command line. I can do it in here. Maybe I want to do my commit command here. So I'll put my message in, update readme with what I keep misspelling it, with semester 2022. That's my message. That would be the same thing as if I added git commit the long way, right? Something. It's the same thing. So I add my message in, and I click the check mark, which should commit it. So now you can see one sync changes. I personally don't like to use this button. I don't know why, but you could. I prefer to do it the manual way. I feel like I have more control. So I do status. There's nothing there. There is a commit. It's waiting on the push. It's too easy when you have lots of files. See, when I find you have 20 code files, and you can easily click that button when you don't want to do it. Not that it's going to matter, but anyhow, I'd rather push it from here. I'd rather do git push, but that's okay. We can use the UI to sync it. This action will push and pull commits to and from origin. So it's saying it's going to push my changes, and it's going to pull down any other updates, right? So I'll say okay. So right now it's syncing. Visual Studio is trying to tell me some nice things. It's saying, would you like me to periodically run a fetch, which will try to update your code? You could say yes, you could say no. It depends if you would like to be more in control of your fetches, or if you don't mind it to sync up. I prefer to do it myself, but for the example here, we'll say yes. So if there's any changes, it'll try to update and sync up. So our changes are persisted now. If I go back to my repo here and I refresh, I should see that this guy changed here. And you can see there that this guy updated. So now on my central live repository, those changes are there. right? So what does that mean? That means that if you cloned my changes, it's a public repo, so don't delete everything. But if you did something called git pull or git fetch, git pull, you would pull down my changes and you would get the work that I just put up there. So as I start adding another folder for full stack 3, which for you guys is full stack 1, full stack 3 will have more notes and examples every class. When you do a git pull, you'll be in sync with everything that I have up there for you. And that's how we're going to collaborate. That's how we're going to share, right? Okay. All right, let me just stop that recording there. And I